no lie. Resonating, vibes ain't feeling good. Everything but vibrating. I am at peace. I am at peace.
He's John Ryan.
He's Jonathan Prince.
And together we are
Brutally Johnest.
Brutally Johnest. Big up, how are you? It's been a minute.
Oh, good. What is that t-shirt you're wearing?
Stussy. I always wear Stussy t-shirts. I should really try and get some sponsorship, but I'd wear it anyway.
Some sort of East German secret police.
Well, I've always said it wrong, actually. People in the comments have probably cussed me off. It's got like a, I think it's called an epsilon or something. What's it called, this thing above the U here? There's like two dots.
Umlaut.
Umlaut, that's it. So it's supposed to be pronounced Stussy. Two brothers. One created a label named Stussy. The other created a label named Hussy. So same thing with an H. But yeah, when I was a kid, they used to do caps, and it just used to say Stussy across the cap. And they used to be about 50 quid. And when I was a kid, that was like a gold bar. It was like if you saw someone in the Stussy hat, you were like, wow.
Yeah, funny that. I was never one for fashion. Clearly, look at me in my £2 t-shirt built with exploited Southeast Asian labour. Yeah, that's my favourite exploited labour, if I'm honest. I've started already, haven't I?
You've started already early, just getting straight in.
Record time for me, mate.
I haven't got so much to talk about this week other than I have actually thought about this. I've made another... I'm going a bit crazy, man. I'm still making sourdough bread.
You're like Jesus. You're making loaves. Every time I talk to you, you're making more loaves. Once you start fishing, we're in trouble. We're like, he's back.
Do you know what? Oh, man, I don't even know if I should do this. But a friend of mine reminded me, he watched the last show, and he said, the stupid songs that I make up. He reminded me of one I made up years ago. And I was a bit scared because he was like, oh, do you not remember that song? He said to me, do you not remember that song that you wrote about Jews? And I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. And he goes, no, it was really funny. You were just trying to prove the point that you could make an inoffensive song with the word Jew in it. And I was like, oh no. And then a few weeks later, he remembered it, right? This doesn't go well. I'll cut it out. Don't worry.
Okay.
He remembered it. And the song was, the flip-flops that you're wearing remind me you are a Jew. No, maybe not.
Just like to say that I wouldn't like to be associated necessarily. The lyrics in that tune do not represent the view of the Johnest backroom team or team indeed.
Disclaimer.
What's flip-flops got to do with Jewish people?
I don't know. I don't even know. That's why it makes me smile.
Remember what I said to you before? It's a borderline, isn't it? It's a borderline between genius and madness. Maddest genius.
Well, we'll test that borderline now, right? Because I wrote my starter has been coming with bars, mate. You know, I did the starter had some things before. So tune of the week is a remix, of it's a remix of a
Jewish flip-flop song
of a track by a guy named Rick Ross, and his track is called "Every Day I'm Hustling," right? But
really, I'm hustling. Okay.
Oh, you know the tune?
Yeah, I'm not that out of touch with like youth culture 20 years ago.
I couldn't hide my surprise. Sorry, mate.
Try to. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I prefer that one to the flip-flop song. I ain't gonna lie.
Check the bars, right? Check the bars. Here we go.
Tell it.
Every day I'm bubbling. Every day I'm bubbling. Every day I'm bubbling. Every day I'm bubbling. Every day I'm bubbling, bubbling. Every day I'm bubbling. Take equal measures of tepid water and strong flour. Every day feed me like seam of middle sharper horrors. Other yeast cultures be tripping, that's right, I'm a boss. Searching the bread out for dry yeast to use your husband laws. Every day I'm bubbling, every day I'm bubbling, every day I'm bubbling, every day I'm bubbling, every day. No.
I feel like I'm your counsellor sometimes. I don't feel I'm here to judge. I feel I'm just here to listen, not comment. Just bars. I particularly like the way you got bubbling to rhyme with bubbling, and then repeated it over and over. Emphasise. I think you could have took a day off after that. After a tune like that, right? You can't. That's like when Freddie Mercury
wrote Mrs. just come in and she's shaking her head at me like you're mental.
Exactly, bro. when Freddie Mercury wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, he probably felt like you do now. He probably thought, that's it.
I'm simply a
I can't top
conduit.
that.
I'm simply a
Yeah.
conduit for the yeast starter, mate.
Right.
I can't.
It's gifts.
Yeah, it just channels through the starter, and
Yeah.
I'm just a conduit, bruv.
You set the bar with my dad's country song you wrote. But
I'm actually going to have to record that song. For those who
Yeah.
don't know, go back to episode 6, and it goes something like, "One day you're gonna lead a house with that comb in your hair," and it's actually a
it's
banger.
almost like he's back in the room. It's like he's climbed out the coffin, out the grave, recomposed, and he's sitting next to me.
On the real, this morning, right, I woke up to make bread, which is just weird enough as it is, right? But my missus woke up and she was like, she came in the kitchen and I was listening to a track called Old Town Road by Little Nas X and what's his name, Billy Ray Cyrus. And yeah, I was like line dancing to myself in the kitchen, but not like a kind of Caribbean kind of flex, you know what I mean? Because it's Carnival weekend, isn't it? So my line dance included some of this. Do you know what I mean? And a bit of the waistline whining.
So you basically I imagine your kitchen's like Fantasia. Instead of buckets of water, just loads of bread everywhere. I imagine if you sweep the camera around now, your front room just piled high with loads of bread. Because that's what men do. Once we find something that we can do, we do it. Like basically back in the day, they used to make handheld flints. And archaeologists have found like 3 million handheld flints all around the place. But at that time, the population of the planet was about 200,000. So what's happening is a man's realised, look, I can make something here. Look, I can make another one. Look, I'm good at this. Look, you can do it too. Just pick up your bit of flint and go like this with it. Look, you're doing it now. There you go. You and loads of bread. It's an evolutionary advance.
Big shout out to like Carnival, like all the people them that are missing out on Carnival this year, or the Carnival, as certain friends of mine would prefer for it to be called. But yeah, man, Carnival's not on, and I've got to just say, it's a joke for the Carnival for people them. Have you seen those new glasses that dance to soca music?
Okay. No.
Wine glasses, innit? Wine glasses.
Wine glasses.
Wine
it's good.
glasses.
Use that.
You like it?
You can write a song about that. Don't. Yeah, it's funny. Where'd you go when you go Carnival then? Do you have a particular?
I go on a Sunday, mate. I don't go on a Monday.
Yeah,
From when I was a youth, they was like, do you remember the IRA?
Vaguely.
Well, of
you
course,
know, vaguely. Why would I? Why would I indeed? It catch them up that quickly. This is like back in the day when the police used to stop us. No. Ira. Ira Thomas.
And his sister was always very chilled. Her name was Irie. They said that I remember there was one year they said they were going to bomb like special big events, but they definitely would not bomb Children's Day of the Carnival. And they said that, right? So from then, and even before then, we only went on Children's Day because we used to have pram and have my little brother in the pram. Or when I was young, I used to go since I was a ute in a pram, you know. Because obviously my parents being from the Caribbean, that was like a big part of our culture, you know, that they missed. And no Carnival was really, sorry to all the people them in all the other places, but no Carnival really kicked it like Notting Hill for me.
You went to St Albans Carnival. They had a Ferris wheel and.
How you mean? I was the Carnival Prince, and is it King and Queen, or you know what I mean when you sit on the thing and go of
You was the king and the queen and the
no, I wasn't the king.
Listen, mate, however you define yourself, that's your business. Like I said, I'm not here to judge, just here to listen, just here to help you on your journey. Moving on, we can edit that bit out. Your brother's just fainted. He's gone, what? I knew it. That's your mum's underwear win.
Yeah.
Starts with dressing up before you know you're making bread in the kitchen.
See my jaws better. I can kiss my teeth again.
Okay. Tell me your interesting story about St Albans Carnival.
No. Kettering Carnival. When I was a youth, we would.
Kettering Carnival. Now we're taking up a step.
I know, man. I know.
I think the hierarchy is Rio, New Orleans, Notting Hill, Kettering. I think that's how it. Not sure about Kettering and New Orleans.
Because Kettering obviously like
drier.
We were the first like mixed. Obviously, I was black. She was white.
Why is it obvious that you were black? I don't know. I don't understand. Do you change colour? Do you darken?
Who chose to see?
Do you ripen? Is this what happens with people of colour? Help me, I'm a white man with white privilege. I know nothing of the black community. Only that I give money, £2 in an envelope, to the children of Africa.
Can I be a pain in the bottom and get you to move to the left by about 2 centimeters?
Your left or my left?
Your left.
That's away from the window.
Yeah. Like
Like
the
that.
actual seat though, bro. Like, thank you very much.
Well, we're trying to read on the back.
No,
We're
because
trying to
it'll
read on
clip the
back.
corners, and it'll clip this side and
Just
this.
don't change the subject. You're talking about you cross-dressing and being a queen of Kettering Carnival.
So yeah, it was really progressive Kettering, man. Like obviously from back in the day, they had a lot to
Oh, yeah.
do with the abolition of slavery. A guy named William Knibbs. So on the town crest, I think I spoke about this before. On the town crest, you got
Mhm.
Queen Victoria pointing one way at this slave at the crest, and then you got the slave pointing at the crest, and his shackles are broken. So William Knibb had a lot to do with the abolition of slavery, and yeah, we were the first like black, white, May, king and queen. Like
Brilliant.
back in, I think it must have been like, I don't know, 93 or something like that. 91. I'm old anyway. That's for all the people
Well,
there.
but that's a nice. You know, the thing that always fascinates me when they talk about slave abolitionists, like they were good people, is that we mustn't forget that if there hadn't been slavery, they would never have had to have abolished it. You with
Mhm.
me? So they weren't just suddenly moved and inspired to kind of wake up and make life better for people. They were living in times when nastiness was going on,
Mhm.
and a lot of the time they did it not because of the goodness of their hearts towards people of colour, but because you know what, they couldn't compete economically with places that were using slave labour.
Well, this is the whole thing with. It's a strange subject to get to, but some of the stuff I learned with regards to the American Civil War and the Declaration of Emancipation. I think Abraham Lincoln said himself. I know Abraham Lincoln said himself. It was quoted. If he could win, if he felt he could win the Civil War and not free one slave, then he would. But
Yeah,
ultimately, the South's power in having that slave labor made them unable to
yeah,
unable to compete with them, like
yeah,
money
yeah, yeah.
wise. And when they were going to take over the West, they had to make it that it was about people who were basically they had to try and abolish slavery to level the playing field, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Money wise. So
Yeah, that's it. But that's the thing with Carnival, Notting Hill Carnival. I used to be the officer in charge in my day job, and very often I would work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Carnival weekend, double time and a day off, and get to go to Carnival. And other people didn't want to do it because they just thought it's just too much hassle.
what kind of officer?
But I worked for the council, so
Ah,
the housing department would, over that weekend,
right,
social services and everything, they would need a point of contact. They'll come into our office,
right, right, right,
and
right,
then
right.
I'll just go to Carnival. And then people ringing me, I'm like, "Did you hear my phone?" You always used to get people ring up with stupidness, though, right? They'd ring up and go, "Hello, I've just bought a property off Ladbroke Grove, and I can't get my vehicle into the area." I'm like, yeah, there's Carnival going on. Do you not read the papers? Like, or
That
people
would have
going,
vexed you,
"Hello,
though, innit?
there are some people in my front yard using it like a toilet." Yeah, that's what happens, really.
If you live on
So
Carnival route, you need to get all your stuff in and be ready. Like, I think the best ones are when you see people selling stuff, like
yeah,
either like access to their toilet or like
yeah,
beers. Do you know what I mean, or whatever
bottles
it
of
is.
water.
Bottles of
That was the
water,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's loads about Carnival that I used to fascinate me, and so my kids used to come with us, and then their friends started coming with them, and then they'd have like friends from university who were from like a village in like Wales or whatever, who had heard all this stuff about you're going to go there and get raped by black men, and then they would go there and think this is fantastic. And the whole thing about Carnival is they always concentrate on the crime part of it, but never the fact that if you get 5 million people in that space for that length of time and how little crime you have compared to football hooligans, what do them use there? What
Mm.
harm do they do? What harm do they do?
So I love it. Like on the Tuesday after Carnival, Monday, I'm always like waking up going, "What? How did the policeman skank with the crowd?" Because there's always one who's like, "Do you know what? Yeah, I love reggae music and I love calypso, so I'm just gonna dance." And they start skanking to get on television. I love that.
We one year decided on the way back to because when Carnival finished, we would go to a friend's family's house and just drink and carry on. And on the way back from Ladbroke Grove right over Goldhawk, we shook hands with every policeman that we met, and they'd be like, "Oh, thanks," but there was loads of us, and it was just hilarious. Just finding them, you shake your hand, "Thank you, officer, really good day." And you're like, "Whoa, what?" It was good, good day. But people forget why Carnival started as well with the murder of Kelso Cochrane,
Oh, I didn't
who
know this. Carry on.
yeah, he got murdered, and it was all about that fear that the white community had towards the black immigrants. And there's a really good book called White Riot about how it's rumoured that London Transport during, I think, 58, 59, laid on extra buses so that more white people could go to Notting Hill to join the White Riots. It's a sad thing that people now don't see how that carnival's there to be a celebration of multiculturalism rather than, like it's just for black people. They just decide to carnival. They want to show the white community, you know what, there's nothing to fear here. We can all live together. And all those people that lived around Notting Hill back in the 50s and 60s, what they went through was appalling. But, it's just another one of the things that people forget why these things start. And that was back in the 50s.
What you talked today is very interesting because there was a painting by a person named Kari May Weems. And this piece is a picture of a black lady looking into a mirror with one hand on her face and one hand holding the mirror. And it's entitled, "I looked and looked and failed to see what so terrified you." And it was taken in Louisiana, similar to what you were talking about there with the carnival, an effort for people to show that we're all the same and there's no need to be fearing something that you don't know, because let's have a celebration to show our culture. Do you know what I mean? Our differences make us us strong. I know of that particular piece because a friend of mine named Erica Deeman, that's Erica Deeman, whom I met back in 2016, asked me to sit for them for a photo, and I didn't know at the time, but she'd been inspired by this. I looked and looked and failed to see what so terrified you, and took a picture of me, and the picture a week ago was printed in the New York Times. So like, it's crazy.
You're like a celebrity, mate.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Just to think,
You're
like, I don't know.
You're like a celebrity, mate. No, it just shows that, doesn't it? You're getting out there, mate. You're getting out and about. Your fame is worldwide.
Well, it's funny, man. Some moments are lost in the ether, right? And you have them and you hold on to them because you know they happened, and you don't need to go running telling people about them. Weird. We live in a world now where it feels like something isn't valid unless it's posted about on Facebook or some sort of media. I've always felt there's a place in my life, at least my life, for privacy, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I don't tell everyone everything that I do. But that was a moment that touched me, and I never really could explain it to anybody. And then now it's in the New York Times for everyone to see. I'll put the link in the thing below.
In the box below.
Yeah, in the box below. And yeah, everyone can like basically understand what the moment was. It's like a shared moment. So yeah, brilliant. Well happy. Buzzing.
Nice. And it's all like, because this weekend should be a big weekend. We should be celebrating, like I say, Notting Hill and that. Did you ever see the film Absolute Beginners?
I didn't. When you say, have you ever seen the film? Generally, I'm going to say I didn't. I haven't really got the attention span for films.
I would have said, have you read the book? But then I thought maybe, or if you've ever heard David Bowie's song Absolute Beginners. It's all about that 1958, 1959 Notting Hill riot. And what's interesting is that this weekend, so the festival, the carnival, was about showing people, like, come on, we can all live together, right? And then you fast forward 51 years, and you've got them Britain First people going around in hostels, immigrant hostels, abusing people who've come here as illegal immigrants. But you can't be an illegal immigrant. You can be a refugee. And it just, to me, it's like 50 years later, how we moved on from 1950, I'm sure it's 59, but there was mobs of hundreds of white British people roaming the streets of Notting Hill looking for black men to beat up. And now, 51 years later, we've got little groups of Britain First people walking around immigration hostels, looking for refugees to abuse. What's changed in 50 years?
It's crazy.
But that's just, how do we learn? How do we move on? When we go Grenada Corner, which is, I can't remember where it is now, just around from Paris Square. And it's funny how each island had their own little corners and areas to congregate on. And it was just every year we would go, and then when we went to Grenada, my whole, as a family group last year, we all went as well. It was funny then for the young people that came with us to see the link between standing in a rainy street in Notting Hill in August with being on a beach in Grenada and thinking, the amount of conversations we had when we was there, especially with some of the mixed race kids that came with us, were going, but why did Grandad leave here? I'm like, well, maybe just sat on the beach one day thinking, I'm fed up with the sunshine, blue skies, calm water, fresh food. I want to go get shouted at by white people in a cold rundown. That's where we forget where where our communities start with people who came here, and that's why I was really disturbed by that Britain First thing that I saw.
It's a big thing that you say there as well, though. Like our community, man. Like there's a lot of talk at the moment with regards to different things that have happened in the past that people may or may not be ashamed about, right? Some people just take literal, like they're like, well, someone said that someone's got an opinion about something that happened in the past. I'm just going to say it. There's a thing talking about Rule Britannia at the moment and whether we should have it on the proms, right? And mainly because I think it says Britain never, never, never shall be slaves, right? And there's people have got umbrage with that on the one side
Yeah.
because it's talking about slavery, on the other side because it's representing a time when Britain was great and like that's how we were and so on. You shouldn't stop singing that song. I think really that the debate is healthy. People have it as such a thing at the moment where like even to talk about it is kind of rude or causing like tension, negative energy. But I think the debate is healthy. At the time when that song was written, yeah, people need to realise at the time when that song was written and used in the way that it is to celebrate whatever it celebrated, right? It was new. And before that, it didn't exist, right? It didn't exist. So
Okay.
some people decided to build of something of what they felt at that time and decided to display that and have it as a song that we all know now in the history. So as people now, we have the same right to build of our own lives, to discuss and debate it and say, oh, does that still represent who we are? Do we still want to show that out there outwardly? But I don't think it's the one to completely hide it. It is part of the history of what's happened. But I also think there should be a voice of, I mean, I've been a bit surprised. Some people are like, well, we're still like that and that's still me. Fine, bruv, that's still you. But is that the whole populace? If the whole populace doesn't feel like that and they feel, say, oh, well, no, we want to sing another song made by Stormzy or made by Ella Air or whoever, you know what I mean, Adele, then people should talk about it and decide to sing the Adele song if they want to sing the Adele song. You get me? Because then people back then, before Royal Britannia, they didn't have a song or whatever song they had. We don't know about it. Do you know what I mean?
I just think that, look, mate, I was on a cruise ship once and we were sailing out of Jamaica. Those playing Rule Britannia, without a hint of irony. And that's the whole thing. Britons never, never shall be slaves. We'll never be secondary. We'll never be subservient to anyone else. We are stronger. We are greater. We are more powerful. At that time, there was, mate. That's a fact. We can't change that. There was. And last night, the problems, how many people actually watch it to get fussed about it? Get more fussed about the fact that we've become such an intolerant nation that now we're looking all the time to divide ourselves.
I'm
You know,
going to
like
take it.
they want to pull down statues of 17th century slavers. Okay, that's good. But what about their descendants who are still sitting in the House of Lords? Why don't you mind about what's going on today in 2020? I think with all this stuff, yeah, let them play Rule Britannia. Let them feel guilty and feel bad and show that as a nation, Britain has moved on from that proud imperial past to people that kind of go, actually, you know what, we are responsible for a lot of bad things.
But one in the same, some people think, nah, that song represents me 100%. If you want that song to represent you and it represents you 100%, cool. But people should be allowed to debate about it. And if so as such, I don't want to say it like this, but like if so as such 51% vote, yeah, we want the Adele song. The Adele song's coming true, bruv.
We no lie, resonating, vibes ain't feeling good. Everything